Hey, how you guys doing? Let's do it to it. We're gonna go over an E. Berger's game. Emmanuel Berge. It's a French defense, so gotta look at it from black side of the board. E4, E6, D4, D5. That's the start of the French. And now if he goes here, I'll show you. This one is the Tarrasch. This could turn. This one can turn into the classic or the Winier. This one turns into Tarrasch. This turns into the advanced. This turns into the exchange. And I'm thinking that's ones that I think that's it, if I'm not mistaken. So he goes more towards the French defense, the Winier variation here. And we already went over this line. If he plays something like this here, you could take, and after takes, you can pick up a pawn at that point. I believe that's right. I think you could pick up, yeah. And this is playable. Knight here. Queen grabs. And then there. And then you can also get your rook involved via this way too. It's kind of an interesting line. Sorry, there. So this is the main line of the Winier. There's the Blitz variation after here that he has this. So you got to be careful. So in some lines, you could potentially go down this variation here. So you really can't take at that point. So what you would basically do is play here, and then you would take. So you got to be careful. And if you'd play there, here, 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 here. Wait a second, am I doing this right? Yeah. Yeah, he has to play there. Here. Or takes is a line. Let me see. I have to go over the lines. I haven't done some of those lines. There's certain lines. Hey, how you doing? Hi, Morphe. F5. Bishop H5. Check. G6. Bishop D3. So now if takes here, we take back, and we're playing against these weak pawns. He's got one pawn that's potentially got to fall here with that. It would be tempting to take here, but the only problem is you reconnect his pawns, and you don't want to do that, especially when your knight's really strong. H6 handles. It goes into the anti-knight variation that Jeremy Silva talks about. See, the knight potentially could come here next and try to undermine this pawn. So black takes care of that problem with g5, and then potentially g4, and then he goes after the knight. And now we have some ideas of potentially going f, and then knight there, but you got to be careful when you do that because there's only one defender, you'd lose a pawn. So if he played something like this, then he played there, then he tried this, he actually can pick up a pawn in that line. So just make sure once you surrender that you're surrendering this point. So excuse me. Castles, rook fd e1. So now he takes. And the reason he took was so he can implant this knight there. This pawn's kind of fractured. This queen's almost trapped. Almost. Excuse me. Let's see. Takes. There we go. There we go. Now he's attacking. So the knight has to kind of wedge himself in there. So that after takes, rook would take. The queen would have to move at that point. But now that we're doubling up, he's gonna have to move his knight. Take first because it's forced. He doesn't have enough defenders to guard this. This spot here is covered by the pawn, the e spot, e3. So the bishop can't come there to defend. So we actually forced him into trading. Then rook would take. Now this is hanging. So rook takes pawn. Now we're again attacking the pawn. The takes, and then queen takes, and we're in theory up one pawn in this line. He could win his pawn back if he obliged, but actually he can't because we're attacking a rook, so he has to move his rook. And now that the rook's moved, we can now bring our rook right back and guard the pawn on a7. So bishop b4, and now we have an idea of potentially doubling up and trying to divide up the rooks this way here via there. So here, and this divides up the rook so that after takes we can actually checkmate on the back rank. So this is a forced move. The bishop going to d6 is actually forced. It's the only way to, because if they tried anything else, let's say, let me see. Let's say they tried to stay in contact with the rooks, we would potentially double up here, and if this was play, oops, sorry, you can't do that. So let's say here, I'm gonna delete that mouse slip on my part there. Let's say that he tries to get the pawn going. We have a potential division. See, you lose communication with these two, then you get mate. So I was just showing you how the communication divide works, and that's why he played here, was to divide up these rooks. So we took and he took. Now we can bring a rook to either b5 or a5. So rook b5. We're going for mate. So h3 is forced. You really don't want to play, I believe it was Varakobian that said you don't want to open up the diagonal of the bishop that you're fighting against, because this bishop can just slip right in. Now we're threatening mate again. So we're still threatening a back rank mate. He would have to play here anyways. So he just decided to do it on the opposite color of the bishop. So check, king h2, rook B, king G, check, king G, there G, and then A4. This was probably to, if he was doing a 30-minute add-on, a 30-minute seconds to add on, that bought him 1 minute of thinking. So now if rook went to here, we potentially we could come here and attack this, maybe, or even come and play here, but I'm not sure. It'd be an interesting idea. So F3 to stop the pawn onslaught would be a good idea. And let me see here. So F3, rook check. So we got some time. Check. Now we're getting our movement of our pieces going. King G6. You got some time added on for that. Now we got our passer. Yeah. Hooray. Hip hip hooray. You would think that he'd want to play rook here and not really worry about any of those cheapos. But you have to remember now you have bishop a2, an exclam move, so that you're going to basically win the rook for the pawns. And I'm not sure if that actually wins anything. So here, king h6, and his opponent resigned because he doesn't have enough time to get back here. So that his move kind of was a mistake. This doesn't even win anything, because if that, then he's got no more checks. He can't even come here now because the bishop covers b7. So there's no way of stopping this pawn. And if he tried back here to stop the pawn, white did, bishop a3 just helps it come right on through. And he's going to win with his extra bishop and pawn. Oh, I think you're right. I think that's best. Yeah, he can win right away. That's a way to do it too if you wanted to go right on through. Now you're up a whole rook for that. I don't think he has enough compensation. 3 pawns aren't enough compensation. We can actually get our rook, our bishop involved, and we got him. So if he tried this, we'd probably pick up the pawn here. So if he tried here, that's gonna fall. So wow, he is up a creek. He's got so much about to collapse. So even if he played here, we've got that, and then we take there. And if you try it here, now we can come up and then we've cut the king off from the protection of this. So the bishop would have to come to d6. And eventually what we would want to do is somehow get our king via around here. Somehow get here, 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 and here, and start taking scope there. This pawn stops this. These are his only 2 passers, and we can handle them. The rook and bishop can actually handle that. those two passers. So are you guys ready for some tactics now? Are we all fired up for some tactics? Ready and rolling? Revved up and rolling? What do you think? Yes, let's. All right. Let's do it to it. Alrighty then. Let's see what do we got here. Ay, I don't like this position one bit. No sir, no siree, I don't. Excuse me. One second. I gotta drink. I'm gonna drink water. Hold on. Much better. Okay. We need to, oh boy, let me see. What move could we actually play here? We're pinned with the rook, so somehow we have to unpin our position. We have enough material to win. I'm trying to figure out, is there any way to win here? I'm looking. Is rook f6 an idea? Let's see, rook f6 potentially. Let's see, rook f6. I was looking at or rook f4, but he can just take at that point. So I'm not. I think rook f4 is not a good move. I don't like rook f4. So. We got to be careful because his idea is to play bishop to e3. He wants to play bishop e3 and double attack the bishop. That is a candidate move. Yes, sir, it is a candidate move. Yeah, it is almost trapped for sure. It has one square to go to g2. And I think we would, at that point, be able to potentially trap the rook at that point. I think if we played king h5, rook g2, and then we could play rook F4, rook F4 maybe. F1. Yeah, that might actually, well, well, I think I think that is true. I think I'm liking King H5 for sure. I think that has to be the first move. So we missed something here. Oh, we were right, but we just needed to, oh, snap. We had the right idea. Oh, that was so sweet. That traps the rook. Yeah, the rook is trapped at that point. Because if check, the king has to move, and then when we do that, now that's covered. That's covered. If he does have one spot to go to, but if he does that, then he loses. And if he plays here, we can actually play rook up and king here, and then we win the rook at that point. Okay, drat. That's okay. We'll get it back. We'll get it back. Good spot on the rook trap, though. That was a really good one. Good job there. I'm looking at potentially queen f5. Queen f5 is a pretty intense attacking move. Queen f5, and then if we had another move, rook h7, king g8, and then queen to f7 is mate. That'd be our idea. Well, our queen's under fire right now. The bishop's attacking our queen, so I'm thinking that we're gonna have to move the queen. And really, there's only two spots to go to. So yeah, we'd be losing a rook in that line, wouldn't we? Ugh. Yikes! These yikesies. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the queen is almost trapped, isn't it? I'm almost thinking it's a queen exchange. Queen takes g5. H takes g5. And then I'm thinking that, oh, well, I guess we don't have that luxury, do we? Because he can actually take on, he could potentially, after we exchange the queen off, he could go queen queen takes f3, f3 check at that point. So that would not turn out the way that I thought it would. No, 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 no. I don't like that now. Not a happy, not happy. Oh, I think we can win a piece here. I got an idea. Okay, rook takes g5. H takes g5. Rook takes g5. If queen h6 to try to stop our infiltration for our queen to f6, we can play rook g8 check. When the king takes g8, we can actually play queen takes h6. And I'm thinking that potentially might be equal, but I'm not exactly sure. What do you think? Because more Erie, we're down a exchange, so we really don't want to exchange down if we don't really have to. I see what you're saying. That does cause a little bit of turmoil, doesn't it? That is interesting. I think we potentially have to go rook takes. Excuse me. Rook takes our g7 takes g5, h takes g5, queen f6 check, king h7, and then bishop takes f7. That's the line I'm thinking about. No, rook takes h7 takes g5. h7, the h7 rook here takes g5. After pawn takes, we can play queen f6 check. Queen f6 check here. I'm thinking this is... Okay, now this was the area that I was kind of a little slightly shaky in. If we do that, queen h5 would be played, and I don't know if that's what I'm thinking. Let's see, rook takes g5, queen h6. I guess we could check with yeah, he would have to move his king after that, wouldn't he? Rook takes g5. Yeah, I think that picks up a queen in that line. I think you're right on that. Yeah, I'm thinking rook takes g is right. Yeah. Because the other line doesn't allow enough compensation. Because after we take here, here, king comes up, bishop here, he can actually pin with rook to f8. And then this would be a draw. King h6 would be playable, and he's got this pawn covered here, and we're up a creek without a paddle. So it's mainly a draw. But with rook g5, if the queen went here, we can actually play check, king goes there, and then we pick up the queen. So yeah, well, that's what I was looking at too. The bishop h7, but pawn takes g3 is a bone cruncher at that point. Let's see, if we played bishop takes f4, he just retreats his rook out to, let's see, where can he, oh, rook a4. Rook a4 would be a area that he can retreat his rook to. We would lose two bishops for a rook, though. You would lose two bishops for a rook. Yeah, and I don't think we have enough compensation for the sacrifice. So bishop h7, king takes, h7. So bishop h7, king takes h7. Rook takes a1, f takes g. Pawn takes h6. then pawn takes f3. We do have two connected pass pawns for the exchange. So I'm wondering, is that enough compensation? We have two outside pass pawns. If we take the pawn, he'll play rook rook a4, and then he's pinning our knight to our bishop, and so he'll be winning a piece there. Well, if we grab the pawn here, bishop takes f4. He'll play rook a4. Rook a4. Well, maybe at that point we can play knight b6. And then if rook takes f4, we have knight takes c8. But I don't know. We could do that. So you want to get more pawns. So if bishop takes, so you have the line if bishop takes f4, rook a4, bishop takes d6, and if rook takes c4, then we play bishop takes e7. Is that kind of the idea? Is that what you're kind of thinking there? Was that it? So you don't want bishop takes, so you're wanting bishop takes f4, rook a4, knight takes d6, and then rook takes f4, knight takes c8, and then bishop takes g5. Is that kind of the line? Was that the line? Hmm. I'm kind of thinking that potentially bishop h2 might be an idea. Bishop h2 with the threat of bishop h7 check, winning the rook. But I think he can just go again rook a4 at that point, but so not sure we acquire anything from that. So this is a kind of a headache sitch. No, we don't. Not after a4 or h4. But we do have, if he does do that, let's say bishop h2, rook a4. We do have knight to b6 at that point, though, and that does pick up a that does potentially pick up a rook for the knight. So I'm wondering if it's not bishop h2, rook a4, knight b6, bishop, and then if he goes bishop d7, knight takes a4, bishop takes a4, and then bishop takes f4. I'm wondering if it's not that there. What are you guys thinking now? We can combine these two lines together because they are actually one line. I just didn't want to have to rewrite it all over again. What do you think, Economy, on that line? Do you like the idea though? Pretty nifty, huh? We win an exchange, and we're still we're up in exchange, and we get our pawn, and everything's nice and sweet, and we have our two bishops still, and all that. What do you think about that? That's kind of the only line that I see that has any teeth to it. And we keep everything in our back pocket and we still win. But what do you think about the bishop to h2 though? Have you taken a second to calculate that one? What's your opinion on that? Besides the bishop takes pawn idea. Because bishop h2 doesn't put the bishop on the same rank as the knight. So our forking idea works. Otherwise our forking idea wouldn't work because our bishop and knight would be on the same rank, and the rook would have a pin, our knight to our bishop. So I was just wondering what you thought about that. King h8. Well, couldn't he at that point though play rook takes h6 check though? Oh, wait a second. You're right. We don't have that, do we? Ugh. Yeah, the bishop blocks the rook. Yeah. We could potentially win but we could potentially play G takes H 6 at that point, though. That does win a pawn. I see what you're saying. That. I see. Well, bishop h7 check. King takes h7. Rook takes h6 check, and then king we go to um, g7. So I really don't see any continuation in the rook line. Hmm. I like keeping the two bishops. If we were to do if we were to do bishop takes f4, and he played rook a4, I do like bishop takes d6, and then bishop takes d6, knight takes d6. I kind of like having that type of a play. Let's give the bishop takes pawn an idea. And then knight d2. Knight d2 unpins the. It was the right idea. So Great find on that one. What do you think about knight d2? Or should we, well, there is g takes h6 at this point. Bishop, oh, rook would take at that point. Rook takes b1. So I think we're forced to play knight d2 at this point. That's the only way to hold the position together. And then we can play after c. I'm only concerned knight d2 is c4. c4. Huh. Oh, I have an idea. Well, in knight a3, doesn't he play rook takes a3? Huh. Rook takes f4. What is rook takes f4? Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm thinking A3 might be the no. So is it A2? No, it's not that. Huh. That's a puzzle for sure. Oh, the knight's trapped. That is sneaky. That is very sneaky. That's very sneaky. Wow. I'm thinking we have bishop b1 check. Oh, I have an idea. Yeah. Let's see. Rook e2 check. Bishop b2. Bishop b1 check. King takes b1. Rook f1 check. King, we'll say c2. And then rook takes e7. Oh, snap. Oh, drat. Wow. Yeah, that does. That idea is good. Yeah. This was my idea here was this here king takes there, and after king a2 we pick up a rook, but that was my idea. But the other line works better. Here, rook takes. And then you take there. Nice job. Sorry about that. That was my fault there. A little too eager to pull the trigger there. I'm looking at potentially king d4. If rook e1, then I'm looking at d2, rook e1, and king to d3. Yeah, let's give it a go. There we go. Yeah, I'm feeling like queen g6 here. Queen g6. He would have to go bishop e2 in that line. Bishop e2. Queen takes g3. Check. And I think we've got some pretty good counterplay there, but I'm not sure if we have enough for bishop c5 check is interesting, but then you have bishop d4 and it's protected 3 times, so the only problem with bishop with queen g6 now that I look at it is he's got rook takes e4, queen takes g3 check, and if king g1, I guess we could pick up the rook with queen to f3 check at that point. So I guess we would win our material back, wouldn't we? With interest. We'd win our loan back with interest. Not king g1. I don't know. I thought I put king h1. Huh. That was weird. Sorry about that. King h1. That's what I meant. King h1. What do you think, Morphe? Morphe's Revenge? Do you like queen g6? Oops, I missed a line. What in the world? That's funny. Sorry. Queen g6. I skipped a line. Rook takes e4. I knew I forgot something. Queen takes g4. And then rook d3. And that is a... We do have a skewer though with bishop to g6 at that point, though we do have a skewer. So bishop g6 could be played at that point. What do you think, though? What's your guys' plans? Is my stream lagging? I gotta check and make sure so it's not lagging. Because there's no communication coming in. I want to make sure I'm not lagging. Let's see how laggy this is. Okay, it's about 5 to 6-second lag. That's kind of odd. We'd have equal pawns at that point. So it'd be equal. I was wondering what you thought about this line. Rook takes e5. Rook takes e5, and then bishop c5, check. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this exchange here, and then here. Yeah, I like this idea. Because there's really no good squares for the bishop to go to. I'll show you what we're talking about here. I'm surprised that has an 58% pass rate. Nice. Means that people are getting tactics down. Oh, somebody added a comment to it. Sweet. So that if here knight e2, king, if king d1, oh, we do have the, yeah, king, knight, e2, check, king d1, knight, c3, check. If king d2, knight a2, and we covered the queen square. What do you think about that, guys? And then if he goes knight e2 check, king d2, we have knight d4. If king tries to go d3, we have knight b4 winning the pawn, and if he tries to queen, we have knight c1 equals queen. We have knight b3 check, and we win the piece. So this is the there we go. I wrote in the 2 lines that makes it work. Or there's actually a 3rd line. I just didn't write that 3rd line in. Now we have to calculate f4, a4, king h4, a5, g3, f takes g3, a6, h2, if rook h1, king h3, a6, a7, g g2, and then a8 equals, or he could play rook takes h2 check, king takes h2, a8 equals queen, g1 equals queen, and then he's got the check. So that's a pain in the drain. Let's try f4, a4, h2. If rook h1, g3, a5, or if he takes, let's say he takes, f takes, f takes g3, f takes g3, a5, g2, king f4. What does king f4 do? I have a question. What is? Don't you? What about? I was thinking about this line, f4, a4, h2, rook. What does white do in response? I don't know that I'm not sure which line to what to play. I'm thinking maybe um, rook g3, maybe rook g3 at that point. But I think he can push the pawn if you do that. So we're trying to create our pass pawn before the king gets over there. Maybe he could actually potentially just go a4 at that point if king f4, he could go a4 at that point, and then like king f3. I know what you're thinking. A5, king takes f2, rook a1. But still, we're tempo. I think he'll queen. Yeah, I'm thinking that f4 is the line. Yeah, he had to play this move here. This was a vital move. If he didn't and he pushed the pawn, we would actually be winning. Let's see. Now we have to calculate king h. Yeah. Let's see. King h4, a4, g3, a5. He'd have to take at that point. So king h4, g3, f takes g3, f takes g3, a5, g2, rook g2, king. Then we'd have h2, rook takes g2, and then a1 equals queen. Yeah. No, because he'll actually, if we did g3 right now, g3 actually loses because he has f takes g3, f takes g3, and then he could play rook takes h3 at that point. So we have to actually move our king in. And then yeah, the continuation, I'll show you the continuation. It's a pretty interesting continuation. After if he keeps pushing onward, we have g2. If he comes here, we come there, he takes, and then we queen. And now we're stopping here and attacking the rook. Okay. a4. I thought so. And then king f3, a5, king takes, rook. Let's see if it's rook a1. Yep, rook a1, g3, a6, g2, a7, h2, queen, g equals queen, queen a7, king g2, g7 here. Let's see, king here. That would be mate right there, so we can't do that. King f2, probably rook check, and then I think it'd be a draw. Probably a draw with accurate play. It'd be a draw. With perfect play, a draw. Nice. I think we potentially almost have mate here. Let's see. h5 check. Only move is king h3. G4, king h4. Oh, I think we got mate. I think we have a better mate. Bishop g2, bishop g2, knight takes, e6, and then h5 is mate. Because that cuts off all of his flight squares. I really don't see any way that he can stop the mate after bishop g2. Yeah, let's go with it. Oh, he took our rook. Wow. I don't like that. Guess that's the only way to stop it. Not happy. Very unhappy right there. I'm an unhappy camper. We were so close to mate. You didn't let us mate him. Unhappy camper. Let's see. I think we were gonna have to take with the rook here. Rook takes f4, king g3. But I'm not sure if we acquire enough counterplay from that. Don't tell me, is it really that? Wow, let me see. So king g3. Let's continue this line. That's actually a check too, so he's forced to move. Bishop f3. Bishop f3. Knight takes e6. Rook g4. Check. King h3. So I'm thinking we have to take here anyways. I want to see the continuation of this line. I want to see if we're kind of going down the right path here. So he played here, there, rook takes, king there. Okay, rook c6. What happens if he plays there? Okay, I was thinking something like this, but I think it's a oh, you can just take. Okay, good thing we didn't go for that one. This, and then if king takes, we just pick up the knight. So he'd actually have to play knight d5, and then bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5, and then rook c3, king g2, rook c2, king h1, h4, h3, takes, king there, rook g2, king f7 here, and then we stop the pawn. There we go. d6, we take, e7, and then rook h3, king there, and then we can actually play here. Oops, wait a second, my bad. Rook c7, and then h5, and we have enough pawns to queen and mate. Okay. Okay. Be blessed, Erie, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'm looking at bishop c6 here, and I think that wins a piece if I'm not mistaken. Hey, how you doing? Let's see. So, see what he could play. Bishop c6. If b5, then we have bishop takes d5. And if the queen goes to c3, queen c3, knight b8, and we save our knight, and we're up a piece. See, bishop c6. If he tries knight f6, we can play knight takes f6. If b5, bishop takes f3, and we're forking the two rooks at that point. Even if he took our knight, we're forking the two rooks. So I'm pretty sure that bishop c is the move. Yeah. Let's see how we're doing on time. Just wanted to check to make sure. Okay. I think we got time for one or two more, and we'll see. Okay. We'll play queen h, queen h 3, queen h3. If bishop takes a6, king b8, and we're winning at that point. So queen h6 or h3, bishop f3, rook takes h5, bishop takes h5, then queen takes g2 is mate. Let's see if rook takes g2. Let's try rook takes g2. That's the most forcing line. Rook takes g2. King takes g2. Rook g8 check. If king f3, queen to g4, king e3, and then he gets away. So he'll get away at that point. So what do you think, Morphy? Do you think it's queen h3? And see if queen h3, we'll say g3, right? Rook takes g3 check. F takes g3. Queen takes g3. Ooh, that is the great equalizer there. Good thing we looked at that. Ooh, I think that's the tide turner there. Yikesies. Boy. I think it still works. I got a feeling that still works, yeah. I have a feeling it does. I was looking at this line here, and I think this is the reason it works. Let me see. Come on. And then what we'd have to do is check here. Queen H, yeah. Here, and then Rook G. If he comes here, then you have mate. So his bishop would actually, he can't play there, so bishop would have to intercept at this point. And then you could have queen check, king h1, and then knight takes is best. Well, yeah, I guess that would be best because we're forcing mate, aren't we? King c8, and there's nothing really he can do. It's all over. He'd have to defend via here. Then queen h4 and king there, and then knight e3, and we pick up the queen. He'd have to intercept. He'd have to intercept here, rook g2, and then that'd be mate. Wow, nice. We'll do one more, and then I gotta see if I have enough time. Okay, dokie. Okay, so king f4. We're in a king hunt right now. Yeah, we have him almost in a net. We just have to set it and then catch him. If only I could get my bishop to f5, that'd be a wonderful idea. Ooh, maybe we got an idea. I got it. I got the line. Sorry, it took me a second. I had to think there for a moment. Let's see. Bishop takes e5. Check. King takes g4. F5. Check. King h5. Bishop f7 check. King takes h6, and then bishop g7 is mate. Maybe not mate. I think he'd be able to go. Would he be able to go back to g5 at that point? Maybe that's not mate. Let me see. Bishop takes e5. King takes g4. f5. King h5. Bishop bishop f7 check, king takes h6. I'm thinking rook takes g g2 at that point would finish the attack. I think we need to leave our come on. I think we have to leave, we have to set the net one last time. Rook takes g2, and that cuts the king off forever. He's cut off forever at that point. Yeah, let's go for it. Okay, now we gotta make sure that, see there. Oh, wait a second, I think I could bring my rook up. And that would also, I have another rook. So f5. Well, no, my rook's trapped at that point, isn't it? Bishop f7 check. Rook takes. And then we have to cut him off for good, and the only way to do that is rook takes g2. When the queen doesn't have any more checks, the rook can try to pin, but if he does, so what? We have bishop g7, and it's checkmate. Yeah, this is it. This is the last set match. Yeah, we'll call it at this point here. Do you have any questions? Or do you have any, if you have a game you guys would like to go over, I'll be more than happy to go over one game before I log. I'll give you guys a second to respond. I'll give you guys a minute to respond. Because I know there's kind of maybe a 10 to 15 second lag. I'll give you one more minute to respond. If you have any games you'd like to go over. Because this is an interesting, I'll show you the final conclusion. You're probably wondering, while you're thinking about if you have any, you're probably wondering bishop takes here, and you're wondering why probably rook doesn't work, right? Come on. The reason is once he comes here, there's no way to get our bishop here because of the pawn. So the only way to clear a spot for the piece is that. Here, here, here. Queen c3. Rook g6. h5. Rook h5, king h6, rook takes, king g5, and then rook h. And now you have to be able to see that triangulation. But if your opponent doesn't play, and let's say your opponent plays here, this is the other mate that could arise. That's the other mate. And you don't want to, if the queen comes here, you do not want to take this because you're so close to mate. If you took it, you would it'd be, I guess it would still be mate 4, but you still have this idea. Oh, king g7 would have to be played at this point. a3. Okay, rook h8. At that point, you'd be mating via there. Okay, so I'll take that as a no. I wanted to thank you all for logging on. We're doing really good here. Remember, life is about treasuring your victories and learning from your losses. And that's the whole thing. Remember that mistakes don't define you. It's how you handle the mistakes that define you as a chess player, person, in whatever area in your field that you're willing to pursue, whatever field you're willing to pursue. There are no limits, there are plateaus, and you must not stay there, you must go beyond them. And Bruce Lee also said, knowing is not enough, you must apply. Willing is not enough, you must do. And what you have to also do is continue to keep pushing forward with your understanding. Don't, like what Yazzer says, every long journey begins with one step, with one small step. Every long journey begins with one small step. That was from Yazzer, Grandmaster Yazzer 01. And so our first step is doing tactics and learning. We have to make sure that we're constantly also remembering that the Lord's the one who gives us our gifts, our breath, and everything. He's the reason for everything. And if we're doing it for ourselves, trust me, it's very temporal, and it fades away like that. But if you do it for Him and honoring Him, it's forever, my friends. But what we have to do is remember that, like what we always talk about, the grounds. There's 4 grounds. There's the wayward, there's the rocky ground, there's the thorny ground, and there's the good ground. The ground that I find is the most prevalent in a chess player's career is the thorny ground, or weedy ground, as we call it. It's those time wasters that you're like, I'm only going to do it over here for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to get back and do my work. Best thing to do, my friends, is not to put off, but actually do your work. And especially if you want to get better at chess, you got to spend time with the material. There's no getting around that. You have to learn it, you have to improve, and you have to keep moving forward. And only look back to learn, don't dwell there. We have to keep in mind that it's a long journey. Chess isn't a cram session. You have to build up and see a board in your mind. And you know what? That takes time. To make a sword professionally for a soldier in the medieval times took a while. It wasn't a fast, thing. They had to get the metal, hammer it out, and maybe even melt it and pour it into a mold, and then wait till it cooled, and then they would hammer it. And when it got red and hot, they'd dip it in water or whatever. I don't know exactly how swords are made, but they would dip it in a solution to cool it off. Then they would hammer it more. They'd heat it up, hammer it more, and then they would do it until it was straight in the way that the blacksmith wanted. We're blacksmiths of chess. Our anvil, our hammer, our furnace and stuff is our books, our mind and our ability to move the pieces. So you're a blacksmith in chess, and what you want to do with your gift as a smith in chess, blacksmith in chess, is up to you, my friends. But truly, it's so worth it if you're going to go to an over the board tournament that you put in your time. I'll leave you with that. What do we always do? We hang up our coat, we hang up our hat, we sit down and study when most won't. We do. And that makes all the difference, my friends. Trust me, it does. As Wesley So says, through the Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless, and I'll see you guys next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, we'll keep pushing onward and improving and getting better. Great job. Go Team Chess Cruncher. We're going up, we're growing up, and we're getting better. Keep pushing forward. Hoorah. Be blessed. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.